On November 16, 1974, the Arecibo radio telescope in Puerto Rico transmitted a coded message toward the globular cluster M13, 25,000 light-years away. The message contained the numbers 1 through 10, the atomic numbers of the elements that make life possible, a diagram of the human form, and the position of Earth in our solar system. The transmission lasted 169 seconds. It was designed by a team led by astronomer Frank Drake, with Carl Sagan among the contributors. 52 years have now passed. We have heard nothing back, not from M13, not from anywhere. The universe, by every measurement we can take, is completely silent, and one hypothesis suggests that silence is not an accident. It is a survival strategy. In this video, we will walk through the full argument behind the dark forest hypothesis. We will start with the question Enrico Fermi asked over lunch in 1950. We will look at the data we have gathered in 75 years of listening. We will examine the two axioms that the hypothesis is built on. We will trace the chain of logic from those axioms to a conclusion that has unsettled astronomers and SETI researchers alike. We will look at the counterarguments. And we will end with the question that no one currently working on the search for extraterrestrial intelligence can fully answer. Why is the sky empty? Stay with me. In the summer of 1950, the physicist Enrico Fermi was having lunch with 3 colleagues at the Los Alamos National Laboratory in New Mexico. The conversation drifted to recent UFO sightings and faster-than-light travel. And then, according to physicist Eric Jones, who later reconstructed the conversation from interviews with the surviving participants in a 1985 Los Alamos technical report, Fermi asked a single question: where is everybody? The numbers behind that question are staggering. Our galaxy contains at least 100 billion stars. The observable universe contains an estimated 2 trillion galaxies. Even if intelligent life evolves on only a vanishingly small fraction of habitable planets, the math says the galaxy should be teeming with civilizations. A civilization only 1 million years older than ours, a blink, in cosmic terms, should be able to colonize the entire Milky Way using slow probes. The astronomer Michael Hart formalized this argument in a 1975 paper in the Quarterly Journal of the Royal Astronomical Society, Volume 16. His conclusion was sharp: they are not here. Therefore, they do not exist. Hart's argument provoked a response. In 1980, the physicist Frank Tipler published a paper in the Quarterly Journal of the Royal Astronomical Society, Volume 21, titled "Extraterrestrial Intelligent Beings Do Not Exist." He went further than Hart. He argued that any civilization capable of building self-replicating probes, what are now called von Neumann probes, would saturate the galaxy in less than 10 million years. A few years later, the astronomer David Brin published a 1983 paper in the same journal, Volume 24, called "The Great Silence." He laid out the absence of detectable signals as a problem requiring its own explanation, separate from the absence of probes. Since then, we have only listened harder. The Breakthrough Listen initiative, launched in 2015 with $100 million in funding from Yuri Milner, has surveyed over 1,000 of the nearest stars in multiple radio bands. The Allen Telescope Array in California has been operational since October 2007. The Green Bank Telescope in West Virginia has surveyed the galactic center. The result, after decades of dedicated effort, is a single anomalous signal from 1977, the famous WOW signal, and a handful of unexplained radio bursts that turned out, on closer inspection, to be natural phenomena or terrestrial interference. The sky, by every measure we have, is empty. In 2008, the Chinese science fiction writer Liu Cixin published the second book in his trilogy, The Dark Forest, originally with Chongqing Publishing in China. The English translation by Joel Martinson appeared in 2015. Inside that novel, Liu proposed a hypothesis that has since been taken seriously by professional astronomers, including David Kipping at Columbia University, who has discussed it in published lectures. The hypothesis rests on two axioms. The first axiom is survival. The primary goal of every civilization is to continue existing. This is not a moral statement. It is a statement about which civilizations, out of all those that ever arise, are still around to be observed. Civilizations that do not prioritize survival, by definition, do not last. The second axiom is growth. Civilizations expand. They consume more matter, more energy, more space over time. This is also not a moral claim. It is a thermodynamic observation. A civilization that does not grow is one that has either reached a hard physical limit, or has become extinct, or has chosen something we cannot easily model. From these two axioms, survival and growth, the entire dark forest argument unfolds. Once you accept the two axioms, the rest follows like a proof. Imagine you detect another civilization. You have three pieces of information. They exist, they are at a certain distance, and given the two axioms, they will eventually grow. What you cannot know is their intentions. Communication across light years is too slow to negotiate. By the time you exchange a single greeting, decades or centuries will have passed. Both sides will have changed. Worse, you cannot trust what they say. They could be lying. And they have the same problem. They cannot trust you. This is what Liu calls the chain of suspicion. Add one more factor. Technology grows exponentially. A civilization that is harmless today could, in 1,000 years, possess weapons that turn stars into bombs. A civilization that is friendly today could, by the time your reply arrives, no longer exist, replaced by something else entirely. Under these conditions, game theory points to one rational strategy. Strike first. Strike silently. Or be struck. There is no time to retaliate across light years. There is no signal of your destruction that arrives before you are already gone. So the rational move shifts, from visibility to invisibility, from shouting to silence. Not everyone accepts the dark forest. The astronomer David Brin, in the same 1983 Great Silence paper, anticipated arguments like Liu's and pushed back. He suggested that any hypothesis assuming a uniformity of motive across all civilizations may not be realistic. Civilizations might be too diverse, too strange, too alien for any single strategy to dominate. Some might broadcast loudly out of curiosity. Some might be incapable of war. Some might have transcended the need for matter and energy in ways we cannot imagine. The astronomer Avi Loeb at Harvard has argued that the absence of detection so far simply reflects the smallness of our search. We have surveyed only a tiny fraction of stars, in only a narrow set of frequencies, for only a few decades. The galaxy is 14 billion years old. We have been listening for less than 100. Other proposed solutions to the Fermi Paradox include the rare Earth hypothesis, the Great Filter, and the simulation argument. Each one paints a different picture. Each one ends with the same fact. We have heard nothing. There is a moment in Liu Cixin's novel where a character explains the metaphor that gives the hypothesis its name. The universe, he says, is a dark forest. Every civilization is a hunter moving silently between the trees. They cannot see each other. They cannot trust each other. The moment one of them lights a fire, every other hunter knows where they are. And in a forest where no one knows the intentions of anyone else, the safest thing to do when you see another fire is to extinguish it. Forever, we have lit our fire. The Arecibo message of 1974, the Pioneer plaques, the Voyager golden records currently passing through interstellar space, every commercial radio broadcast since the 1920s, expanding outward at the speed of light. None of these can be taken back. If the dark forest hypothesis is correct, we have already announced ourselves, and the silence we hear may not mean there is no one out there. It may mean that those who are out there have learned the hard way to stay quiet. If you want to keep exploring the edge of what we know, subscribe. We are only just beginning.